was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord put him to death. We don't know what, doesn't say. We know he was wicked, though. And this might cause a struggle for us. This might challenge some of our preconceived notions of what God is like. I don't think it should, though. I don't think it should. If you're following the Genesis narrative along, you just have to go back to an event happened early on in Genesis called the flood. Okay? God doesn't kill a single individual like he does here. He kills multitudes of people in the flood. And let me just, I want to open up to you and tell you what I was thinking earlier. Let you into my mind a little bit, which can be a very dangerous place. But we sent the kids out of here because we're talking about sex and semen on the ground, and we'll get to it, you know, and that's the right move to make, no question about it. But you know what? The kids are going downstairs, and they're learning about, of all things, the flood, Noah's Ark, okay? And I'm thinking, if they're going to have questions in here, it's kind of ironic because they might just have some questions downstairs if they're following along with the story. Like, God kills all those people by drowning? Yes. I remember years ago, again, what I love about Living Water is you can share. I'm just going to tell you something that some of you will disagree with. I'm just going to say that at the outset. Some of you will disagree. Some of you will agree. I'm not even sure if I did the right thing. I want to make that clear, okay? But when I was a children's ministry director many years ago, one of the first lessons I was given was Noah's Ark. And what I did is I put up on the screen a picture of Noah's Ark. And, you know, the real cartoony one, not the one in Kentucky or whatever. This is like the cartoon with, you know, everybody smiling, and there's, you know, the boat's just kind of floating on the water. You got the giraffe sticking his neck through the roof, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? So it's this picture, right? And I said to the kids, I said, look at the water. And I said, what's missing? And they said, dolphins, and jellyfish. And I said, no, dead bodies. It's a better response than we got last night. There was gasping from over here. So I moved over here. And I stayed with these people. I don't know if I did the right thing. And I said other things, which I will not go into here, because I've already seen the responses from that one thing I shared with you. So, needless to say, there was some fallout, okay? Had some good conversations with parents. Listen, the reality is, I'm telling you, I don't know if it's right. To this day, I don't know if I should have said that and the other things I said. I don't know. But I was like, are we following along with the story? I mean, we focus on the 8 people that God saved. Praise the Lord. But what about the 800,000 or 8 million that perished that day? Do we ever think about them? You know, I got to believe there's people banging on the side of the ark. Let us in. A horrific scene. And they could hear the screams, perhaps, as people drown. But that time was over. It was time of judgment. And I wanted to make that point, okay? And you know what? And yeah, we didn't, you know, some of the parents, we had some good conversations. And you know what? I didn't get fired. I'm still here. I think built our relationships, because that's what we do here. We don't always agree. You're not going to always agree with me, and I'm not going to always agree with you. But this is the place where we ought to be able to disagree and discuss. Because that's something that's lacking in our world today. You can't disagree with somebody. You're a hater, you're a bigot, you're the worst person in the world. But here, we can say, I love you, I disagree with you. Can we talk about it? Absolutely. And we still may leave disagreeing. Hugs, handshakes should follow, and smiles every time we see that person. I don't even know where I'm at. That is a total separate sermon. Let me get back. This is what happens when you leave the notebook, okay? But these things, this is the Bible. This is in the Bible. And we can discuss how do you teach it to kids, but it's hard stuff that we as adults even will wrestle with. God is the giver of life, and he can take life anytime he wants. and he's completely just in doing so. He can and does do it. And I know some of you are thinking, yeah, I know, Mike, that's the God of the Old Testament. That's the mean God, okay? God of the New Testament, same God, same God. Remember Ananias and Sapphira, right? They sold some land, gave the proceeds to the church. When asked, did you donate all? Yeah, we did. No, they didn't. They lied. Dead. One right after the other. God killed them for that reason. See, we sometimes think that God is like my Uncle Dominic. My Uncle Dom, what I remember about him, two things. One, he always had Trident spearmint gum. He was always chewing it, and he always had a piece for me. Big old smile, he'd give that piece to me, which is never good enough. I needed like 5. Those things are like tiny, so that's another thing. But he always gave me gum, and then he was the guy, he had these baggy pants. He's always jingling change in his pocket. He'd always have a quarter for me. And he'd say, don't spend it all in one place, Mikey. And that's what I remember about him. Sweet guy. But you know what? I could do no wrong in this man's eyes. I couldn't do a thing wrong. I'm at the table slurping spaghetti, getting sauce all over the tablecloth, driving my dad nuts. Uncle Dom, he didn't care. He thought it was great. It's probably because Aunt Mary did the laundry there, so he didn't care. I mean, I could literally like burn down their neighbor's house, and he'd be like, yeah, you know, boys will be boys. Looks like we got a budding arsonist in the family. I mean, that was my Uncle Dom. Needless to say, though, God is not like my Uncle Dom. He takes sin seriously. He is holy, and he punishes sin. And we would do well to remember that in our own lives and accurately represent that character of God to others.